here's the thing. You have to take a punt on yourself. When it's the last stand and you look around, there is going to be nobody there but you. In those hours, those dark times, there was only ever you. But you did it. It took a lot, but you did it. Any comeback started there. And Silly Whales is a massive, important part of that for you. So get up, tell your truths, and get yourselves out there.
And that's that. Welcome to Silly Whales. This is a mental health podcast. It feels like it's been a while, but it has been. We sort of missed a week by accident. Sort of. I don't know. Let's forget about it.
Sort of, yeah.
Let's just forget it never happened. This podcast is for everybody, but it might not be for you. Why? Why are you saying this? Are you trying to exclude me from this? Is this not an all-welcoming space? Why do you not want me? For a variety of reasons. There's a reason why I don't want you. But you might not want us because we discuss things such as mental health struggles, mental health issues, conditions, suicidal thoughts, all the things that are triggering to somebody who's really sensitive around that subject. So, if this isn't for you, that's okay. That is okay. That's that. We're here. We have been gone for 9 days. Life has hit me like a truck, and I think it's still running over Joe.
I'm just like midway in the back. Okay. You go first with this, but I think I got hit first, but I want you to start with how you've been.
I'm going to start presently. I opened up my email account just now, okay? And I want you to guess who this email is from. It's not a person, it's an organization.
Okay, yeah.
It is something that you played as children, probably. I don't know if you was part of it playing it, but it was something you played online. And it's in the same, like, realm of Club Penguin and Habbo Hotel style things.
Okay.
Any guesses?
Oh, I thought you were gonna say the email.
No, sorry, I want you to guess.
You want me to guess what it is?
It's a game similar to, like, Habbo Hotel and Club Penguin.
I probably never played it then. Dragon Quest?
No, close. I got an email from Neopets just now.
Neopets? When did Neopets wasn't Neopets like more modern?
Well,
right?
It was like
am I wrong?
Early 2000s to mid 2000s. But
oh, I thought it was later than that.
Yeah.
Fuck. Okay.
I just say, it says we miss you in Neopia. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it's been a while since you last saw you. Yeah, it's been like 20 years. like
fucking hell, yeah. I mean, like if Tamagotchi like phoned me up and was like, "Oh, you haven't been on Tamagotchi World in fucking."
Like, it's been legitimately, it's been well over a decade. I had a Neopets account when I was 10 or 11 years old. No, even younger, 8, 9, 10. So I was in primary school when I had my first ever Neopets account, okay? So I am now 27. I haven't touched it since I was like 11. And they've just randomly this is amazing. This is better than whenever an ex calls you back or drops you a message, okay? It's better than that feeling. It's better than the feeling of like opening a letter and being like, hey, look at that. You know, you passed whatever exam you had. This is a better feeling. Neopets remembers you, okay?
And this is the algorithm coming back because now you're going to get hooked on
it. I think that the time for Neopets has sadly passed me by. Not because of age or whatever. No, I love Pokemon and all that stuff. I just think that the game itself probably isn't up my alley.
Well, apparently it wasn't when you were like 10. So when
I
you
was
stopped
addicted
playing
to it for ages, okay? But then this thing called consoles happened. And a game series called Pro Evolution Soccer happened. So that was that.
Pro Evolution Soccer 4.
Exactly, yeah. I was, yeah. Anyway, weeks. Week has been a week. I got back from sparring today, and like it's just a beatdown. It's just a beatdown. It's fun. You have lots of fun. It's great. I'm super sweaty, and like we're getting at it. We're getting at it. Man, I am so far away from being good at this. Like, oh Jesus. there is so much to like pick up on and like learn and feel and like get to grips with. It's a lot. Like I can see progress, but Jesus, man, like it is a mission. Overall, I'm trying to. I'm plotting escapes. I don't even know what I'm escaping from. I'm just trying to escape. It's been like a very frustrating week. And the thing I hate about the most this week, people. It's just been people.
Oh, sorry, man.
Yep. Like cycling to work. Hey, do you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna step out in front of a bike without looking while I'm behind a van. Like, I am convinced that this city has, like, population of the city has a spatial awareness or just general survival instinct of a mentally challenged goldfish. Like,
Yeah.
like, how are you gonna? And just a little thing. Everybody walks around like they're in some fucking Dragon Ball Z edit, Joe. Everybody. They all have this like, oh my god, look. Like, how are you taking 32 seconds to walk onto a train? Like, I'm not even kidding, okay? Hey, it's the overground, yay! When it's relatively like not rammed to the fucking T, it's an okay experience. I'm with my bike. I'm running for this train, okay? Already, my composure's broken. Fine. Okay, I had the shield button too long on Smash Bros. It's broken. Okay, so I'm already in an irascible state here. So I'm ready.
You're dizzy.
Yep, it's let's go. One shoe and then the next shoe onto the train, and she stands right in front of the door and like poses to herself, and I was like, "You're just blocking. I cannot get onto this train unless I hit you with this wheel." Turns out I didn't need to hit her with this bike at all. I just got in past her. But she was standing there, like, she was in her head. There's flowers coming down, okay? You can see the picture. She has just killed, like, 3 different dragons. Like, that is in her head. And the same thing, I'm there cycling. I'm cycling back. Life is easy. We're having a good time, okay? And there's this guy, random man, just walking in the middle of the road. Just in the middle, like, he has his AirPods in. You can tell what song is playing in this Caucasian man's head right now. He just walks with it. Jesus walks. God trying to show me the way, but the devil trying to bring me down because the shoulders are back. And you can tell he's a guy who never has his shoulders back. So he's practicing this walk. But why are you in the middle of the street? Like, why? Like,
do you think it's one of those things? You know how like they found essentially that across all demographics you can find, for example, the number of people who are gay tend to be pretty much the same across all like races in the US, for example, and things like that. Do you imagine that there's just like in every population, it's pretty much the exact same percentage of people who do the things that you're describing, like who like confidently in streets that definitely have vehicles on will just walk on the road along, like people who very much lack the spatial awareness, or I guess the sort of force, the personal like tinge of needling foresight against themselves to like figure out what they should be doing in a moment and what they shouldn't be doing.
The candy from the stranger. Okay.
I mean, how many kids would say yes, to be fair?
None.
Like, but that's what it must be. Like this, what I'm trying to say is that London is a lot more people, right? So you're going to see them more often.
Like, these were the guys who, like, they literally saw the PSA. Hey, if a stranger offers you a ride, don't take it. And then some random guy goes, "Hey, do you want to ride home?" Yeah, sure. Like that is a demographic. Like,
but yeah, no, I get you. But you gotta like there's a level of savviness that people do not have, and I think it's being ableist to target these people. That's my take.
No. Because now you're implying that they have like some sort of impairment to themselves. They're just idiots, Joe. Okay. Like what you're saying is like, them white girls who go on social media have to be like, "Oh, my ADHD was so bad today," without a diagnosis. Like, no, okay, or self-diagnosing themselves with autism and putting it in their Twitter profile. Look at me, I've been diagnosed for. Like, no wonder. Oh, I'm so forgetful. Hey, who knows? You could be schizophrenic, but you're never gonna find out, are you? You just want the label. You just want the label, but you don't want the problems that come with it. Am I gatekeeping mental health right now? Yes, I am. Okay.
Yeah, this is a crazy start. This is full aggro so early. Like, this is how aggro should be, I guess. But so
let
early.
me tell you now, okay? Those people, they're lying about mental health conditions, right? They're lying on themselves. It's all good. They are also of the same population of people who walk in the middle of the road. Why? They have no self-awareness. They're incredibly selfish with their time and their space, which means they're incredibly selfish with other people's time and other people's space. You are on a method of public transport. Assume that other people are with you on this public transport. Not everything's about you. Okay? The amount of times I've seen like a weird sense of entitlement from London, especially because I live in Hackney. We are holding it down here. Okay? Like, you get asked the stupidest questions. Like, I live on a road which is a very conscientious, contested system. It is a two-way system. Everybody thinks it's a one-way system. So there have been times where I've cycled up the road and all the ways I've come up are correct. And there were people crossing the road, but they're not looking. Either way. And I had someone, because they stepped out in front of the car, in front of my bike. I was like, cool. I said, hey, please, this is a road. I said, please, this is a road. He goes, but you shouldn't be coming up this way. I've lived in Hackney for and I was like, normally I'm very courteous. I let people get their word in. And that's a problem. People say that's a problem. I need to shut people down quicker. I guess I finally learned how to pull the trigger, okay? I've lived in Hackney for over no. The minute you say 4 years, if you're not saying 40, even if you're saying 40, I'm still an OG. You ain't, okay? I just went, I'm going to stop you here. 28. That's how many years I've been here. 27. I said, yeah. Anyway, 27. Okay?
Yeah. You round up. You wrapped up. Yeah.
No longer than you. This has always been a two-way road. Always been a two-way road. Fundamentally, and it also makes sense to be a two-way road. Either way, are you trying to tell me that you have lived this long? I'm just cussing this guy out. But you still don't look both ways. And I cycled off and I was like, look at me. I am the one in the edit now. Okay? But
I've got the podcast.
Like, it's that. And it's just like the amount of people, like passive aggressiveness that people have for their own issues as well. For example, on the tube, you see it all the time. Like, people get on and they won't move down and they refuse to do it. Or people get on the train or get on a bus and they have their things playing out loud. Like, they're not people with needs. They're not people with any sort of mental health conditions, whatever. They're just dumbasses, okay? And it's okay. But these are things that you can actively change. You know what I'm saying? And people do and they have this idea in their heads that like they're a victim if you say that what you're doing is wrong, and then they're a victim of an injustice. Like, it happens at London Fields when you play football and all that stuff. Jesus Christ. Like, we'll just have people, we had it like a few years back where we had people just sit up right next to us playing football and then complain that the ball hit them. Like, okay, here's the thing. I go into a house and I turn on the cooker and I'm like, oh, it's really hot. I'm standing right next to it. Why would I, like, oh, we can set up any way we want though. Oh, okay. Well, then you can get hit by the ball whenever you want.
LF in particular, because LF also has like the cricket on occasion, right? And obviously people surround that area when cricket's playing, just, because. And everyone, if there's anyone there who's going to complain about like a cricket ball coming towards them, just is in a ludicrous like position, right? Like, obviously everyone would argue against them. You know what the thing about the train thing is? Like, the thing about not moving up into the middle section. The key, honestly, is to, as soon as it becomes an issue, like as soon as like another person comes on and it starts to get like too cramped, just shout out loud, like, can we get people moving down, please? Like, just shout it in the most authoritative way possible and see what happens. I wonder what would occur. I assume someone will start.
Oh yeah, I've done it before. Because again, when I reach like the point, it happens in the morning a lot of me. I'm a morning person, but I am an angry morning person if I have to be delayed by something. Okay. Oh my goodness, and I have anger management issues in the worst way possible. I can't get angry.
Mm-hmm.
So I only get angry at myself and within myself. So everything's my fault, which means I can't express anger properly outwardly about somebody else or to somebody else. It's just my fault.
Yeah.
So, not have to worry about an emotional, like, angry tantrum. It's just me beating myself up. But whenever, like, it's a morning thing, like, the thing I say, like, can we move down, please? Can we move down, please? And there's always, like, people who go, oh, no, why should I have to move down? Because you're on the overground. What are you trying to, come on. Come on.
I honestly, anyone who's complaining in a situation like that is like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, honestly, like, that does get me. I think it's like, now we're getting into just pet peeves again. but like, a big thing for me, like, for example, is littering, right? Like, that's a big one for me. But but specifically when it comes to trains and stuff, like, I think there are two things that really bother me. Because they were rules passed down to me, and they're obviously self-evident as well, but they're rules that were passed down to me by my dad in particular, that I feel, that I feel so blessed that he could give me this information. Take your bag off. If you have a rucksack on, take it off. Hold it between your legs or hold it down. Don't have it up, like, on your back when, like, even if it's not even that busy, just don't. Because in case you, like, hit someone, or, like, you're just literally taking up a person's worth of space behind you. That was a big one. And the other one was the carriage thing. Like, move down the fucking carriage. Like, just, make the space. Just deal with it. Like, you're on a train. Like, you're on a very busy metropolitan train. What is your expectation about what is going to happen? And you might be like, and again, here's the thing that people could do as well. If you want to start, if we want to get down into the weeds of this, which I want to go no more than basically what I'm about to say on this matter, but yeah, here we go. If you have a particular reason why you need to stay near the door, for whatever reason that may be, even if it's just simply, I'm getting off next stop, would anyone be able to go past me? And then you just make sure that you're not that far from the door. Because I know what it's like when it gets real busy. Sometimes it's a real fucking pain, especially when, the door's open, no one's leaving immediately. And so everyone fucking tries to cram in immediately on a tube or an overground. Again, another thing I hate is if you're trying to get on a train, leave an actual large area of space for people to get off. Like, just do it. There is no difference to you getting on the train by you being right next to the door or giving a meter of space for people to be able to get off. And, like, a meter is not even that much when you really think about it. I tried to give, like, a meter and a half. I have no issue. In fact, I once was in a situation where I was near the front, and I specifically, like, kind of maneuvered myself back slowly to push people behind me that were there. And obviously no one has, like, the willingness to basically just push past me for me doing that. So I'm basically creating this area, this sanctuary for people to be able to get off the fucking train. And I'm like, what was everyone imagining was going to happen when the doors open? Like, what were people's expectations and thought processes? And all of this to say, just, like, if you have a reason that you want to give for something, just do it and then act around. Don't just, like, kind of furiously do a tantrum and not do the thing and not say anything whatsoever. Like, at that point, you're just a child. That's just a childish thing to do, right? And of course, I know that some people, like, again, the person who's like, why do I have to do this? And I'm like, okay, you are actually a child. You don't realize you're working within any sort of system here. Okay, good. I know that I do not have to care about at this point. From this point on, I don't have to respect what you're saying or how you feel particularly. We can just kind of move on, kind of ignoring you, pretty much. So yeah, that's as I don't want this to go on too long. We just started, and I think the intro was given, but I feel like we've not even had a moment to breathe.
Good.
Like,
okay, good. Like, do you know what? Like, as well, just walking in general, okay, guys. Like, just why are you walking in the middle of the pavement? Also, why are your arms more than shoulder width apart? How are you doing this? Okay, like this is where I fundamentally just don't understand here. You walk like you practice the posture as you leave the house, don't you? You're like, this is how I'm going to walk today. I got it. Okay, you do it. I know you do. I can see you. I can see you. Okay, I can feel you because you don't need to take up the whole like. You have to learn to take up. No, you don't. No, you don't. Okay. If you hear someone say you have to learn to take up space, no. No, you don't have to. Stay small. It's okay. You have to learn when to take up space. It's not 24/7 commitment, okay? Okay? No wonder you're tired all the time. Oh, my life is so exhausting because you make it exhausting. Okay? It's okay.
I really like the humility and sort of just the poetry of saying stay small. Like, I don't know why that hits so hard, but like stay small just is such a good phrase to describe this kind of very London specific like level of just dislike of certain people's actions. Yeah.
But yeah. Okay? So that is my week effectively done. I haven't even said anything remotely about the actual week itself and what it contains. Okay? It doesn't need to matter, Joe. It doesn't need to matter. Like all it is that.
Truthfully, from a like if from a very specific mental health angle, I haven't said that in ages. Mental health. The idea of like so much of someone's issues can be boiled down to the very specific interactions they have in public with like other public people, and how much it can affect people like for their day, and you know, and so on, and how much it kind of gets in their head. Another reason why we should be maybe just like trying, you know, to be a bit more kind of courteous in general, because at the end of the day, and this isn't like an appeasement section. I'm not like saying, oh yeah, appease the people who or whatever. It's more like kind of, hey, these are obviously already issues, and it's going to be more of an issue for some people. Let's actually just try and do things in such a way where we're not being ludicrously like, or ludicrous might be the wrong word, but like kind of abjectly uninterested in those thoughts and ideas of just kind of being civil. And, you know, like civic responsibility basically on a very small scale just feels good. Honestly, once you get good at it as well, it feels good to do because you know that you've done something good for someone. You know, like helping like someone with a buggy and being like, oh, would you like some help when they're getting off? You know, like it's just a thing you do. And then it's done, and then it's all over, and then you walk away a hero. And that's all you have to feel about it, you know? You don't have to look after the kids afterwards or anything. None of that heroic shit. But like, you know, you're just like, oh, I help you with a buggy. It's like, yeah, cool. But yeah, so yeah, nothing else you want to comment on about your about your weeks?
No. Once you've done your week, then I'll discuss the big events that happened. So yeah, you do your thing.
Yeah. Are we giving the date today, or are you not wanting to?
No, like, today's like the 21st of June. This episode,
this episode like, June.
Could possibly
Friday.
Go up tomorrow morning. But it most likely will go up Sunday or Monday.
Okay. So last week was Cassis and Demi is still away, and I was still looking after the house and rats and things like that. After I came back from home, I had a little bit of a downturn, which then kind of ended up. This is what I mean by like, I think I got hit by a vehicle first, because it's only within the last like 3 days that I think I've actually started to recover at all from it, really. Like probably something like maybe not even Tuesday, actually, like Wednesday, literally. Like when we first started like having a bit more of a chat or whatever on that day. And I have been in a kind of weird space, sort of generally for like that period of time. And I really don't know where it came from, but I think it's just like crystallized in my mind the actions I want to kind of take to improve, like in general. whether it just be like, because there was like whether it was like just a day that I spent, completely doing nothing else but being like on my phone, or whether it be like drinking too much, for example, and things like that, and just feeling horrible the next day, or whatever it might be. I'm just kind of in a space now, and it's funny because I think the last 2 days have, in that way that I talked about, that kind of cycle of like, big up success to like, have it with what preceded it being this really big downturn. That I've almost started to get a certain level of mindfulness recently that I haven't tapped into for a really long time. Not like a full flow state, like where you're just where you're just like nothing else matters and you're just doing the thing, and you're just happy in the moment purely. But there's an element of like water off a duck's back that I'm getting with some of my like thoughts recently, and things that like there was something will come up in my head and I'm like, oh, that would have been so much, that literally a few days ago that was rocking and racking my brain, like for an explanation of, why am I such a horrible human being, and blah blah blah, or like why can't I change, blah blah blah, all this sort of stuff. And then like starting to think about certain things, and it just kind of like, in the mindfulness way, like it's just like a car that I'm watching drive by kind of thing. And it's so weird how different your kind of state of mind happens to be on occasion. And it also gave me a weird feeling of like the people in life who say, oh, why don't you just not feel the way you do when talking to people who have like mental health issues, or like, oh, just don't be sad, or whatever it might be, like all of those like lovely pieces of advice, really thoughtful pieces of advice, of course, as well, as we all know. The idea that someone is like, the idea that like, what if this is how they felt almost all the time? It's how I feel right now. And to feel like I couldn't understand, I had such ignorance of the experience that I couldn't possibly imagine how good a life I had compared to what I was experiencing previously,
Yeah.
which just kind of really threw me a bit, because I've had moments of my life where I felt better and I thought like, oh, this is what most normal people might feel like. But I think there was a real moment where it like really clicked for me, like that like apotheosis of the, what if this was my life forever? And I'm like, whoa, how detached would I feel from like the Joe that has been here for most of Silly Wales up to now and previously, right? Like, what would it be like to be in this state? And again, a week ago, I can say that I was not in a good space. I was also trying to get a lot of shit done around the same period of time. I went to a job open day thing, and that was fine. But in order to do that, I had to get a job moved further back in the week, to a Wednesday rather than a Friday. So I was not at the normal point I'd be at that Friday, and I knew that I was doing stuff the next day. Obviously, because I was thinking about this job, completely fucking forgot that we spoke about, which I'm pretty sure I was drunk at the time that we were speaking about it. Like messaging, I don't even remember which way around it was. That we decided, oh yeah, let's do that. Like, oh, let's record on Friday. So I completely fucked up. And it turns out there was a few things I decided to do that on that particular evening, which was a nice evening in many ways, but was also an evening that was way too big, was way too sharp a turn on me. In that moment, I'm kind of not drinking at the moment, by the way. It's just a thing I'm not doing right now. I don't know how long I'll keep it up, but I'm kind of on a no drinking general feel. So we'll see how that kind of goes. Like, just more being like, I genuinely think at this point, if I stop drinking for the rest of my life, I think I'd be okay. You know what I mean? I would, like, fundamentally, I'm not sure if I would be that bothered by it, but we'll see.
Yeah, like Because you've dabbled with sobriety before, though, right?
Dabbled with sobriety before. Yeah, I suppose in the sense of what you mean, just like not drinking as much,
Yeah.
really. But yeah, I mean, there was a point in my life where I was drinking, like I was at the age where I could drink, but I wasn't drinking as much. It was something that developed over time, right, to a certain extent. And there have been times as a result after that where I did choose to drink less or whatever. Or like, for example, for Ramadan, where I was drinking very lightly, if ever. Being like, okay, well, I have to make sure I've eaten a lot before I even begin to drink, and if I do, I'm drinking like a maximum of X amount, whatever. But yeah, like I think this is the first, I think, truly, like, I'm not trying to make myself not drink. I'm again in this weird mind state at the moment where I can kind of choose to do things at will, and it's just happening, and I'm not sure when that's going to stop, but I'm just kind of riding that, basically. And I'm riding it after already having not drank for like a week or whatever, not being in that mind state. So it's like, oh, okay, well, maybe this actually could go a little bit further. Who knows? Again, one of those things that I realize I'm super like my dad in this respect, because my dad is fundamentally thinking about what I can say in case he listens. No, I think I think my dad genuinely is one of those people who just kind of has a sense of self kind of what's the right way of saying this, actually? A sense of sort of self-sustaining attitude of himself, where it's kind of like, if I don't want to be in a position where I feel myself being led astray by things I do, I want to kind of have a sense of control, like in that way. And also the feeling that I would say that he feels very much like he kind of wants to be in a state of doing things because it's the right thing to do for himself, and of course knowing that there might be extra benefits, but like I think he's very much willing to give up the benefits that can come from things in order to gain some kind of more long term, sort of technically larger sense, like in a larger sense benefits, but which don't feel as like kind of high in a way, like as they don't feel as sharp, the feelings of the benefit, if you will. In the case of alcohol, for example, would just be like, the not euphoria necessarily, but like the kind of heightened emotion and the feeling of being a lot more able to kind of to be a lot more loose socially, and socially lubricated, all that sort of stuff. Not feel so inebriated and inhibited. That's the word. You're absolutely inebriated. So I think that's a part of, but obviously I don't mean specifically with alcohol, although my dad does no longer drink alcohol. I think that it's an example. My dad has like given up smoking. I think he gave up chocolate because he got really into chocolate.
I didn't know your dad ever smoked.
In a way, I think I don't remember when it was, but I don't think it was very long. It wasn't while I was alive. I don't know if it was for very long, but I think he just decided kind of very early on that he was just not going to get into it and stop. Like he started to feel like he was getting addicted, and he just decided he was going to stop, basically. And with chocolate, I think it was that he used to just eat quite a lot of chocolate. I think that did end up overlapping into my life, and he was like, "That's not healthy for me," and just stopped. Like he just was like, "No, I'm not doing it." I just kind of like did that. And there's a certain level of like the desire for self-discipline, I think, is the way of describing it. He has a very similar sense of me, where the desire for self-discipline, I think, is there, and there's better words that I use. I think I even spoke about this with my mum, and I use better terminology, but very similar concept. So, I think very much this also brings into the whole YouTube side of things, blah, 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 with like, my desire not to be kind of controlled by it and things like that. And yeah, it's been, I still haven't gotten round to like the complete loss of YouTube now. Like I have like for the last bit, I would say that, especially because of the way last week was, I would say that YouTube has very much still been like a daily to 5-6 days a week occurrence, right? With the caveat, I will say that I have been in kind of positions of a greater sense of being able to kind of go, I need to do this thing. And even though it might take me a while to eventually do it, something I want to do at 4, I might end up doing at 5:30, but I still end up doing it at like 6 o'clock. You know what I mean? Like there's kind of that weird window where I'm still kind of ending up doing it. But it's still too much for me personally in terms of what I want and in terms of how much it affects my life. I think it's still too much. And I think the way that it affects me is still too negative largely. But having said that, I'm not in, I think, for a lot of the people's advice, or a lot of ideas about like, hey, don't try to just cold turkey it, like, work on just reducing it or finding ways to like, consolidate when you engage with it and not. I think my biggest thing recently has been, rather than thinking more about, like, obviously I kind of still want to do cold turkey-esque things, but really it's more about me focusing and working on the decision-making moment before I actually do it. Because that, I think, because one, that has actually kind of been the thing that has changed. And it's also the thing that has made me go, oh, if I improve that means I could apply this to more than just YouTube, right? The kind of moment where you say to yourself, like, okay, I'm about to do something. What am I about to do? Okay. And then literally taking as long as you want to just stand there and think about what it is you actually want to do. And then being like, I want to go have a shower. Like, just having even that moment alone, I think is kind of again, it's sort of that thing where most people will get up and they'll have a shower, right? And they'll do it out of routine, essentially, more so than real, like, thinking that they're going to do it. And, it will feel weird if they didn't. Like, they would feel weird if they didn't do that. Because I don't naturally have that sort of going on in my head for the most part. Like, that's just replaced by go on your phone or go on YouTube just generically. For me, it's, I want to not be doing things automatically. I want to be doing things with decisive sincerity and ultimately forcing myself to go through the motion of thought rather than, just lazily like acting. So that's kind of been that's been the last few days. I literally plan to, I think I mentioned this to you like last night or something. I literally plan to go to a Buddhist center that's in town. I was like, oh, is there a Buddhist center in Worcester? Turns out there is. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to go to the next open day thing that they have, like the next, open taster, whatever, like, for like beginner people who are not involved with it or whatever, to just come and see what's up and just go there and be like, yeah, I'll say hi and just hang out and then maybe get some advice on like basically meditation and things like that and mindfulness and all those sorts of things, because that's honestly one of the big kind of takeaways, I guess, that you can have from Buddhism without having any sort of notion of the more esoteric mystical notions of Buddhism.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's truly the atheist religion, if there is one. Like, it's Buddhism is probably the one, right? Like, if you're gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna go to a holy area for any particular religion, I think Buddhism is the one that most atheists would be more likely to actually want to take part in, versus like, a church, a mosque, a synagogue, or I actually don't know what a Hindu's. I don't know what a Hindu's what place of worship is now I think about it. Is that Vihara? I'm going to look that up while I hand it over to you to kind of discuss
There's also
stuff.
Scientology, but
Oh, I don't know what they call them, but
the org. Yeah.
How do you spell
As
org?
an organization, the org.
Oh, the organization. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Remember the whole story.
I remember what you said. I just didn't remember org.
But yeah, guys, there was an event.
Mandir.
Oh, I didn't know I was saying.
Mandir, that's what it's called. Yeah. There you go. I did actually know that, but I forgot that it was specifically Hindu, not some whatever religion I thought Vihara was from. Anyway.
There was an event on Juneteenth. It doesn't feel like it was 2 days ago. Anyway, it was the pop out, Kendrick and friends. And let me tell you now.
The pop out.
Let me tell you now, okay? I stayed up for the first, DJ headset, and I stayed up for a little bit of the DJ Mustard set, but it was really 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, this is gonna go on for a while, okay? I just turned it off, went to work, came back early from work just to watch it. It was incredible, okay? Now, there's a few things that have to be noted here. When a man can bring together Pyrus, the Bloods, and the Crips on the same stage, have them dancing together, singing, drinking, being in each other's company, with there being zero friction, along with multiple recording artists, producers, singers, writers, all that stuff, who probably have their own beefs, and have them dancing on stage to a song that he wrote. You are on top of the world. Okay? You are. Simple as.
Yeah.
It was without a shadow of a doubt historical. And there'll be someone going, oh my god, no it isn't. Yes, it is. Like, for example, I had somebody at work explain to me why Taylor Swift's tour and the concert in Edinburgh, whatever, is historical. And I did my best to not laugh in her face. Okay? I did. But guess what? Maybe in her life, it's historical. So I shouldn't judge. However, this concert is going to be historical in her life too, which is the difference between Kendrick Lamar and Taylor Swift. This concert is going to be seen as something that we'll discuss for a good few hundred years, okay? I'm not even kidding. I thought about this recently. We look at music from hundreds of years back and we go, this is a classical piece of music. Are they going to look at music of this current generation we have now? I mean, I don't just mean these past few decades. I mean from the Rolling Stones to Prince, Jimi Hendrix, to Michael Jackson, to Jay-Z, to all of these guys. Are they going to look at our lyrics hundreds of years from now and be like, man, they're really discussing things, you know? They're going to look at This Is America by Childish Gambino and be like, oh, this is a song that, discusses the horrific police brutality back in the years, 2010, 2011, all that stuff. That's just what it is in the 2010s. And they're going to teach kids this history about how things were really unequal and there were really bad things in the world. How close they were to World War III, and they're going to bring up legendary figures. And I'm pretty sure that Kendrick will probably be discussed there as seen as a unifying voice and things like that. And people get really weird about history and people like to gatekeep history and say, this can't be it, this can't be it. But you have to think about it logically here. When you could connect people through music who would normally be firing at each other, you have to start asking yourself, well, I'm doing something correct here, clearly. Now, let's bring it back down to earth a little bit here, guys, okay? Roddy Ricch,
let's get back.
And I played his song for you yesterday while we were playing Civilization. Roddy Ricch came out, and I realized why I liked this show so much. Did his first song, great, cool. I was like, oh, this guy's pretty good. Then the second song came on, The Box, the song me and Joe listened to again last night. That song live, goosebump. Everyone knew all the words. And I realized, oh, this is why this show is actually really good. It's not just Kendrick popping out and showing niggas. It's every single person that took the stage. Because I know the song The Box. Never on my playlist though. Why? Because I heard it all the time, but I could never know who sang it. I had no name to put to face, I had no name at all. I just knew that it was one of these guys, and I sung it. It was always in a club, it'll come on randomly, but they wouldn't play it enough so I can Shazam it. Now I have to use my Google to try and pick up. Nope. I'll hear it in a radio, be like, that's that song. Oh my goodness. Boom. I see his face, I see his name. It's Roddy Ricch. Of course it's Roddy Ricch. I know the guy, I just never listened to any songs. Great, cool. Now we have a new artist we like. Steve Lacy. I really love Steve Lacy. Easy. My nigga was flawless. He looked like he didn't break a single sweat at all while singing perfectly live. He did a song that I guess people like his songs. People know all these guys' songs, but now they see a name and they put it to the face. So when he did Bad Habit, people are going to look at that and go, that's the guy that sang that song, Steve Lacy, new artist, boom.
Yeah, genuinely, that was the thing I was going to say, like you telling me about, I didn't even know who Steve Lacy was, even though I knew that song that we listened to last night. And I was like, oh, right. Oh, that's Steve Lacy.
Yeah,
okay. I that part I think is so great about this.
Like,
about
that song,
this
like Bad Habit, you've heard it multiple times because you've heard me listen to it. But it's...
Oh, no, I've heard it much outside of you. Like, I think more outside of you than I have with you.
Even better. Like, but that's the name to faces right there. That's huge. That's huge. Like, for me in general, I like community-based action. And this wasn't even a Kendrick versus Drake thing. Drake was just a casualty of this whole thing. But even then, no one really cared about Drake in this. Okay, singing Not Like Us 6 times, right? That's a pretty big blow. But
yeah. I mean, like, come on, like, not.
But I will say this: I was just focusing on how good of a time everyone's having, rather than like the guy being like brutally torn apart here. I was thinking, this is community activism, community awareness, community like participation, all in one. He did it at a venue which has a capacity of 17,000. So he could have done it at a 60,000 arena, but it wouldn't have been in Inglewood. It wouldn't have been where the West Coast was. He could have done it in Saudi Arabia. He could have done it in New York. He could have done it anywhere. He could have done it in a bigger venue in that area. But he chose Inglewood. Like
Inglewood.
Exactly. That is community in a sense, you know? And I was thinking more of that side, you know? Like, there's a little kid dancing and everyone's like cheering, and the whole 17,000 people are cheering for it. Like, that's community. That is what it is. Anyway, Drake was an afterthought, I thought, like, despite him getting massacred.
It's sort of like the summit was reached of the peak has been reached of the entire like event is not even the right word for it, but the I don't even know what you would call it. Like the with what happened with Kendrick Lamar and Drake, the peak had already been reached, and this felt like the right way to say it would be like the summit aftermath, the like the summit that they like made after they'd already reached a peak.
It's the epilogue,
right? But I honestly hope that actually doesn't become an epilogue. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it was so interesting that it felt almost like it was beyond an epilogue. Or I felt like it could be beyond an epilogue. I don't know how long it will remain that way, but I would really like to see more of this sort of thing.
We're going to see this yearly for Juneteenth. I hope so anyway. I also think that we're going to see more creators. And by that, I just mean artists. I mean YouTube. No, I don't mean those motherfuckers. I mean creative people. Be it.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm going to backpedal on that completely. Certain YouTubers get a pass here. I've been listening to a really good like selection of Black YouTube content creators, what you call them, and because
like who? Give me names. I want to know who you're listening
to. That's a big.
I've heard that name.
You've heard it? Good.
Yeah.
He just had a random blow up, and I was like, I don't know who he is. One of his videos came on by accident. Boom, great. Editing's perfect. Like all of it is just quick fire. Like just everything is just done right. People like that benefit, and then we got guys like Baby Keem. We have other artists like coming to the front, you know. But I mean, even lower down than Baby Keem. I mean, like the guys who are still figuring out their feet. I think Not Like Us gives them an emphasis of what to build on. And it also sets some sort of virtue and a method in which you can progress. Like, you know not to step into somebody else's culture and act like you own it. Like, you know who not to be.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a mixture of like pride and also like a set of conduct.
yeah, like the safeguarding protocol for the future of rap and hip hop, you know? And for that, even bleeds to poetry. Like, I think about, you know, you're not a colleague, you're a fucking colonizer. And I realized, wow, there's a lot of colonizers, like, in certain spaces, especially when it comes to things like poetry as well. Like, I'll always, I have a poem called, like, The Boy in Cali. You've heard me perform it. I hate doing it. Why? Because I'm telling a story of somebody else, and the whole idea of the poem is meant to be like, look, this person, like, doesn't want to get killed in a war, so he's traveling through Calais to get to the UK to study, to live his life. Everyone loves the poem. I hate it, and the reason why I hate it, everyone loves it. It tells a story that isn't really my own, and it, yes, you can say it makes awareness of something, but at the end of the day, the only person who's going to see that awareness is me and the people who spread it. Really, they're only going to spread to other people who think like them. Like, it doesn't change anything. It's not an aid. It's a good thing for me to talk about, but I'm not actually talking about it. Like, it's not the happy ending of that is that the guy is, like, lives just down the road at Bethnal Green and has a job and studying. Great, cool, but you know, I guess the structure of it feels like it doesn't really belong. You know, it's not my story to talk about or to tell.
Well, it's not your story, but it doesn't mean it's not your story to tell others. It doesn't mean it's not someone else's story you're telling.
It doesn't feel like,
but it doesn't mean your
it's
job.
a reality that I really connect with. Like,
true, yeah.
Because I have a really cool poem that I don't ever perform. I'm not even going to record, which discusses, like, you know, me and a friend who's trans. I don't do the poem a lot because, not because I feel like I'll be a colonizer in that community or anything like that, but because I feel like other people will have that gatekeeping mindset to it. Like, so I just avoid doing it, especially because for me, it's like the person's she's the only person who I'll ever read a poem out to. One, because it's like a minute long, but two, it was something that I felt like in that moment she needed to hear, and I was right, which is funny because I rarely ever am. But I'm never going to perform that poem because it's not really my. I feel like, even though she's given the green light to do it, and she came to a show to watch me do it, and I didn't do it, it felt like it wasn't something that I should be in the realm of talking about. You know, it talks about an experience, but it's not my experience, and I'm not changing it in a way to make it feel like it's my experience of that experience. It just feels like I'm talking from somebody's experience, and I'm profiting off it, but by metric standards.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of I mean, obviously this is a complicated issue, so like me trying to come up with an answer doesn't make sense, but I'm trying to think about about the ways in which you absolutely can talk about a subject that is not a subject that you have personal experience with, or of something that you don't have.
I think it's just about
an idea, like, of.
Think about why you're doing something. Like, for example, if I make a video about things like if I discuss, like, Pride Month, for example, am I being a faceless corporation when I discuss it? Am I just being like, it's really bad, we love everybody, yay? Am I wearing the rainbow flag, but then the minute Pride Month is over, everything's a straight line again? Like, everything's like, am I just gaining a small measure of stock and interest in this by using this for a month or so? Like, it's Pride, so we're gonna have rainbows everywhere, but I'm not gonna change the way I live, nor am I gonna, like, take stock of the people around me and how they might feel by my actions. These are the things. Like, I'm also in that community, so it's difficult for me to even imagine that. But I'm making a Pride poem, let's just say that, and I have it and I do it for the month, but the minute the month is gone, I delete it. I dipped in, I took what I need to take, and I left. That's wrong.
Do you think a song like I Bless the Rains Down in Africa, what's that called again? Is that just what it's called? Yeah, I knew it was Toto. I couldn't remember the what the actual song was called. Is that song an example of that?
I
Do you
don't
think?
know what the song's actually about.
It was for Live Aid, wasn't it?
I don't think
Well,
so.
not Live Aid. It was a charity based thing, wasn't
I
it?
thought that was free the.
Am I just wrong in
think so.
my
Yeah,
in my
yeah. I think
history
you
of?
Like,
Oh,
I thought, like, let
hold on, I'll
them
look it up
know
quickly while
it's
you're.
Christmas time. Free the world.
Oh, you're right. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. Sorry.
But
Okay,
even
rewind. That song. That
so,
song
that
is
has a
what I
very
mean.
specific
Okay,
purpose, right?
sure.
That is like a song for charity, about charity, and discussing charity.
You're right. So, but what I'm saying is that you can absolutely do this. What I'm saying is that you can do the same thing with, with like a pride poem, for example, right? I don't think. I think we want to. I think the thing that's probably. And again, I think this is easy for me to say because I'm not the one in the position of who's like actively thinking from the creative person doing it, right? But at a certain level, you don't want to admonish your ability to actually kind of engage with other things in an artistic and expressive place, especially as someone who's actually a part of that community. So, like the idea that you would not do it on the basis of some level of gain that you might gain from it at any level, right? Even though you are showing very strict and obvious support for something and not necessarily making things more aware. Obviously, I understand the idea that like, oh, you're talking to an audience who is probably there and agrees with you, right? I'm not, this isn't going on TV for everyone to see and hear. But again, but the problem is that you need to be able to, people who also believe these things need to have people kind of celebrate these ideas.
Well, that's the thing.
Otherwise, people will lose that. Like it will burden down on you every time it comes up that someone is attacked for no fucking good reason apart from something about them that is completely and utterly fine and shouldn't be attacked,
thing, like,
right?
How do you do that appropriately? And I really do think that it's a really simple thing to do. Like, if you are an ally of something, that's the word that's used here. You don't really profit off of your allyship because it's a natural thing for you to do. Like whenever like I see someone with hashtag BLM in a bio, first joke I make is, well, if their heart gets broken by a black guy, they're taking it out quick. Because the idea is like you're part of the trend, but you're not a part of the like solution or the helping of the problem. Like everyone doing.
But there's also no effort.
Like everyone doing
there's
black
no
squares
effort.
and all that stuff, right? And things I also, as I mentioned before, like going to a protest doesn't mean anything to me either. None of these things mean anything to me if the life you live is still like drenched in the idea of you being better than somebody because of your skin color. Like if that is who you are naturally, then no matter what protest you do, help. Similar to like we have footballer Jordan Henderson, right? He was very like proudly supportive of the LGBT community and all that stuff. He was like on their Stonewall flags and all that stuff. He then moves to Saudi Arabia to play football in one of the worst like heel turns of ever.
Yes, I remember this.
And his interview for it was, well, I just, I feel like I can promote change over there. You lasted months. You wanted the money, and that was okay. But so everyone felt like he was dipping in, taking what he needed, getting the good publicity, and then and dipping out and leaving. I think it's all well and good having a song. For example, let's say I wrote the Calais song, the Calais poem again. I'll write it in a very similar way, but I'd also make it very clear that it's not, but I'm not profiting from it in a way. So it's not about, oh, look at how good you are in this situation. I'll make it more, this is this guy's story. And I'll probably also only ever release it if I know that the money is going to go to things that help that situation get better. Because why am I why am I earning money off like people suffering? So if I make a song about police brutality, I need to know how I can make it better because, well, actually, to be honest, police brutality is one of the things I can probably just make a thing about and colonize that because that's something I'm likely to be a victim of. If I make, a thing about pride, for example, again, that's something that I'm actually part of. So let's say I wasn't in the LGBTQ community in any way, shape, or form. I'll make a song about how bad homophobia is, or make a poem about how bad homophobia is. I get all the plaudits for it, but then I come out in an interview saying that it's not natural. I don't actually support it. I've got the plaudits, I've got the praise, I've got the acclaim, and now I'm backing out. So, like, is that if I write that poem, am I gonna then look to help communities with whatever money or whatever I get from that? Yeah, probably I should. You know,
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you create a hypothetical version of yourself which is like a person that might do this sort of thing for profit, but that's not what you're doing. I think what I'm trying to get across, at least with the way that and this is almost like me. This is me not getting at this from a political or philosophical angle. This is actually me more trying to see if there's something about the way you're thinking about this which is preventing you from taking weirdly pride in the act of wanting to express something that you think matters, right?
I have poems that do just that, but it's not like this issue I have is very specifically with that poem and the trans one.
Sure. Yeah.
Other poems that are like, which I call like somewhat virtue signally, which discuss minority communities, and I have no issue performing those at all. I've got one in which, I guess the topic of like female depression and very like specific things that relate to that, and I tell like that story because the reason why that for me is a really good poem is because the idea of it is that like there's a lot of pressure on women to be like seen as strong and very independent, and you have to have a certain mindset in a certain way, very similar to the masculine like toxicity that comes with all of it. So I tackle that in pieces, and that is such a good poem of mine. Why? Because it comes from my experience of being an idiot, like me trying to fix things in a very toxically masculine way. Like, hey, I have the solution to everything because it comes from that angle. So it hits both, but I'm not making it my thing. I'm making it a very shared experience of I'm an idiot because I wasn't being helpful to this experience that someone's having. So here, my point of view of why I'm an idiot, while also making like a very clear reference to this, like things like that. I think that's how I like to do things rather than going, "There's the problem. Look at it." Like,
of course, but I mean, it's if we were to go back to like a pride poem, for example, like you could do a pride poem where you just say, "Oh, this is it's a bad thing that people get targeted," right?
But I can say it in so many different ways.
Hey, let's just be happy that we're whatever, and you're not saying very much. Obviously, even if you were going to make a poem where, like, I wouldn't in any way like put myself in the camp of saying yes, when I go to like when there's like a pride like parade or and things like that, like if I go to it, I don't think to myself I'm amongst my people in that sense. Like I don't go there thinking like, oh, I am a part of this community and group and whatever, right? So I'm not like, so I can very much say that no, I am not like it's something that my family, like, people that I love and care about do, like, are a part of that, right? Or have some kind of connection to it. And so therefore, there's something there. But if I went on my own, or even if I went with someone else and neither of us were, I consider myself straight is what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way. It's more complicated than that, but that's kind of getting a bit too philosophical if I start going too deep down into that, so I'm not going to bother. The point being is the idea that I couldn't say something that was deeply profound and something that I could do from, whether it be talking to people who I know who are in, LGBTQIA+, or any of these, or even some kind of like adjacent things with gender in general, like with like non-binary and things like that, and the way that that's been that's targeted and all that sorts of things. If I'm not, I could come up with something that was brilliant, right? There's I don't think at an essential level, and yes, I agree with you that you want to have the things you do, or you should have the things you do actively try to then make a difference, right? Don't just plaster something onto, a product that you've made and then say, I think the joke that Brennan Lee Mulligan did in a video that I watched was like, if a guy goes on a subway and starts jerking off, but while he does it, he says, "This one is for the troops." That doesn't do anything. Like, you actually have to be helping the people that you're doing things for, right? Like, it's not, it doesn't make sense. Like, that doesn't help just saying like, "Oh, this is for all of the people suffering from, dementia." Like, that's not helping. Yes, there is that kind of desire, or I think there is. I think that is not even a desire. I think that's a duty in many ways, or that is truly a duty. But again, like, it doesn't just have to come from. And I think, to be honest, I don't think communities, and I could be talking out of my arse here, but I don't think that what would be considered minority communities in this case are only wanting people of their communities to speak about these topics.
Yeah,
I don't believe historically that's the case, right?
Like, allyship is, I hate the word, but it's like, sorry to cut you off.
No. I think you caught me at the right time, so go for it.
I think, if I see a white person discuss like being anti-racist, I'm happy. Like, if I see people discuss these things who aren't from that community, I'm happier. Like, it's good. It is very good. But you have to be very mindful of the fact that you're saying that you are a fan. Well, you're a fan. That's the wrong word completely. You're saying that you are with this community. Be with that community. That's what I mean. Like
yeah.
And that's how I put it. That it's not a you don't say anything. It's how are you saying things, and it's not about what you say. It's about what you don't say.
Mm-hmm.
That's why.
It's like jazz.
So it's like that. That's what is key for me. That's what's important. And to link it back around to the Kendrick stuff, right? In that same way, like, we have a lot of people who are weirdly like gatekeeping things surrounding it. Like, oh, you didn't listen to Kendrick before. Why listen to him now? Well, do you know what? You don't have to do that. Let people enjoy things when they are available to enjoy things. No,
that kind of mentality is very strange. It's like, I don't think so many groups and organizations would never say something like that, really. I guess there's lots of lessons historically to say, like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's never mattered. Like, whatever got you in to recognize that something is important or that something is necessary, it's kind of like almost like, it's kind of like not forgiving someone for being for being a worse person in the past or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of even though like they never really did anything, it's like that kind of same mentality where it's like, oh, you weren't super into this before, but now you are. Like, obviously, if the person isn't just doing it purely for clout and profit, as you were saying, because absolutely that's also historically a thing, but many people are not, right? Many people are coming into things very genuine and very like, hey, you know what, Kendrick Lamar, he's good. Like, obviously I'm not like that. I've loved Kendrick Lamar for years, but like, if someone's coming into the space like with all of this that's happened and being like, oh shit, this guy's actually a genius, which he is, then it's like, yeah, thank you, well done for realizing, join the club, get in. Like, not like the idea of like pushing someone away just feels so odd at that point. Like, I don't know, gatekeeping is always a weird thing. Like, I don't quite understand the mindset that brings about gatekeeping, apart from like some, I don't know, maybe it's just like a design for a lack of change, or maybe it's just almost like a weird sort of a hazing process that people want to put other people through for being new into a scene and wanting to try and like get them to understand, like, to put them in their place basically around the topic. I don't know, but I think a lot of the time it doesn't keep people involved. It and set about like a sense of, of respect. I think more often than not, it just kind of pushes people away.
Yeah,
so,
like, yeah. As I'm just keep saying this. It's not about why. It's about why you do it, how you do it, and rather than what you're actually doing. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know. Honestly, okay. It's a. There's loads of things that I know that I do when it comes to communities, and I don't care. And because I don't care, I know that me fucking it up isn't gonna be one of the highest things on my list of possible fuck ups, because I don't care. I think if I care too much about wanting to appear a certain way, I'm not gonna appear at all.
Yeah.
And being sincere is a difficult thing to do. So if I don't sincerely care about something, I'm not gonna express and act like I do. So I don't have to worry about that too much.
To be clear about my stance, though, I do think that I think it's necessary that you have this doubt. Like, I don't think it's a weakness that the doubt exists, because I think it's a strength to your character, right? And it means that at least, obviously I always will trust this, but I think, if people knew this kind of idea about you, like, I think when you are open with others about this sort of thing, in fact, if anything, I think it's, when you and your friend and she's giving you the green light or whatever, and you're still like not sure about it, right? I think if anything, that is your doubt, and doubt is maybe not even the right word, like your introspection on the topic, your self-awareness about it, right, is fundamentally a good thing. You might be a bit off in terms of certain margins about like whether you should feel bad or not or anything like that, but ultimately you are in the position where you are showing care, respect, and dignity around these subjects in a way that is, in many cases, and unfortunately it's always like, in a lot of cases, it's the popular thing that is, completely, utterly ignoring all of this, that this matters, and that it's important, and that it shouldn't just be used as a skin or a thumbnail or a clickbait title, or I'm trying to think of, there's like a really good word for this kind of thing that I'm not bringing to mind right now. I've literally thinking about something like this a few days ago, so I'm like annoyed that I can't remember it. But a facsimile, maybe. Either way, the sort of like a pastiche, maybe. I can't remember. Anyway, the idea of kind of using something, gutting something for the purposes of making a puppet out of a actual real life thing, and almost again going into that sort of fetishization angle of removing like an aspect of it and making that the thing that it is, rather than like actually realizing that this is a small part of some larger discussion topic and everything like that, and reality that exists. Oh man, I could talk. I genuinely, kind of slightly tangential before we finish, but I genuinely at some point want to do a presents episode on like fetish sex and then fetish non-sex. like because there's one that I could talk about with a lot of like detail and understanding and like kind of philosophical idea, and then the other one I'm like, I don't know what the fuck most of this is, and I'm really curious, and I want an expert to come in and help me, and we all know which one I'm talking about.
I'm gonna call Ryan. Like, it sounds really weird to be saying this. It's gonna be used in 2 years' time probably against me. I have access to a lot of people in that industry who could definitely help us out.
Okay.
So yeah. I think that's it, isn't it?
Yeah. No, man. I mean isn't it crazy how, even though I think we're off by like a week ish. Is it only a week?
It's been 9 days since the last upload.
Yeah. Like a week, but it feels like it's been ages. Like, it feels like it's so much longer, at least for me. Like, me even saying that last week was, I was, Kestis and Demi was still on holiday. I'm like, holy fuck! Like I genuinely like. It feels like it was so long ago. Like maybe that's just my personal present day experience, like recently, that's felt like that. But holy crap, did it feel like it had been so long since we recorded?
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe a little bit of rust here and there, like maybe a little bit of like initially like some like, oh okay, I don't know how to quite like, let's like warm up a bit and blah blah blah. But fuck it, like I'm like it's kind of always going to be that way.
Yeah. I feel like I have to look at clips and all that stuff. I never get a chance to do it. This is a very clippable episode, I think.
Potentially.
Yeah. All right, cool. Guys, we're going to take 2 steps to the rear and get out of here. I'm in the wind. So is Joe. See ya.
You always fuck that up. See ya.